Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where I'm putting together a sub-series of episodes entitled All That I Ever Learned from Tony Robbins over the years. And this is going to be my tribute to the big man by taking a lot of the lessons, a lot of the material that I've been able to enjoy over the years, given that at the age of 63, where I am now, I have been on the self-development program ever since I was in my 30s. I remember first reading one of Tony Robbins' books, Unlimited Power, and then Awaken the Giant Within, back in the 90s. And then I went to not one, but two UPWs that were hosted here in Sydney. And this year I was lucky once again to go for the third time to UPW 23, which sadly may be the last one that Tony Robbins plans to host here in Sydney. I've also listened to a number of his tapes, and since then I've developed my own YouTube channel where I've gone through and published over 1,600 videos on personal development, because my goal is to be one of the world's most prolific producers of content, empowering content that can help people grow, develop, and that will be one of my legacies that I hope to pass on to my family, my children, my grandchildren, when the day comes for me to move on to the next phase of my being. So what I want to do today is I want to focus on an element from the many things that I've learnt from the big man. And today we're going to focus on how humans connect, how people connect. And this is one of Tony Robbins' favourite topics, where he teaches us that humans are social beings. We're social in nature. We don't do all that well in solitary confinement. But there is an art to connection, and there is a process that once you understand, once you use, then you can leverage to make better use of the time that you have with other people, and to feel comfortable and confident with your ability to connect and build relationships. Because at the end of the day, having relationships, having meaningful, loving relationships with other people, for many people, is the most important thing in their lives. And for us Christians, having a relationship with God is without doubt the most important relationship that we'll ever have, and that relationship facilitates and encourages and builds and unites all the other relationships that we hopefully will enjoy in our lives, because Christians are called to be one with God, and the first priority is to serve God, to love God with all your heart, mind and soul, to show thanks and to honour God with everything that we do, to partner with God in His creation, and of course to be one with God. And once we do that, we can also in parallel do the second part of our calling, which is to love our neighbour, love one another as we love ourselves, knowing very well that we need to love ourselves and for our cup to overrunneth, so that we can also love our neighbour and we can all be one in God. So Anthony Robbins normally kicks off this message by saying that people generally like people who are like themselves. So as a starting point, what we do is we build a baseline and a benchmark, and we remind people that generally most people like others who are like themselves, because what we like to do as humans is we like to validate who we are, validate our identity, and the way we do that, and the way we've always done that in the past, is by associating, hanging out and living with people who were similar to us, had similar vibes, have similar ideas, had similar survival priorities. And it all goes back to the time when we were living in tribes as hunter-gatherers. And if you just look at a child these days, a baby, you know, when a baby is put into an environment which is, they feel unfamiliar, they'll look around for a familiar face. They'll look around for the face of their mother, their father, their sibling, their grandparent, uncle, aunt, someone of the same tribe, someone who they feel comfortable with. And that's always been the case. You put any person in a different environment. You put a person into a different environment where you've got a group of bikies, you've got a group of feminists, you've got a group of anarchists, you've got a group of Muslims, you've got a group of Hindus, you've got a group of Christians, and they will normally, especially if you're younger and not as confident and comfortable, people will gravitate to their own kind, because that is how we're wired. That is how we've always been wired from a survival perspective. And of course, it's only when you grow older that you're able to then mix with people of different denominations, of different backgrounds, and not feel threatened, because you're able to identify and do the hard work of identifying the commonalities between people, as opposed to focusing on what's different from them and us. So the key message from this first part of this video that Anthony Robbins reminds us of is that we're naturally going to be attracted to people who are like us, or like our families, or like our parents. And the other thing that Anthony Robbins says now is that, especially in 2023, style is more important than substance. People are more attracted these days to style, now what a person represents, rather than who they actually are, which is a whole topic in itself. But we need to understand that, of course, and to be realists, that you can be the best person in the world, you can have the best ideas, you can have the best heart in the world, but at the end of the day, people will be more drawn to style rather than substance. It just goes to show how shallow the world is, but that's a reality, and you need to understand that. Your kids need to understand that as well. It's a fine art between style and substance, and if you have a lot of substance, then you also need to work on your style in order to be successful. So Anthony Robbins then takes it one step further, and he says that people tend to gravitate to certain things that help them feel comfortable. So what we need to do is we need to be detectives of comfort and to find out what makes you comfortable, what makes your parents comfortable, what makes your partner comfortable, and to do more of those things, or to engage those things, or to include those elements into your vocabulary of connection, to understand. And rapport is like a law of nature. Rapport is the ability to connect with somebody, and it's a law of nature. You need to connect with people in order to influence people. You need to connect with people in order to work with them and live with them and travel with them, and all the things that people want to do in their lives. The most important aspect, or the most important building block to all of those things, the most important building block, the magic glue to building relationships and keeping relationships, is being able to first initiate rapport and then to maintain it, to grow it, to fine-tune it, to calibrate it. And it's like a law of gravity. Once you understand the mechanics, then you're going to be better at making and actualizing it. And we need to follow these laws, these natural laws, just like gravity and science has all these natural laws, so do relationships. And we need to follow these natural laws, else we're going to suffer some serious consequences, is the warning from the big man, Anthony Robbins. So some really simple sort of lessons here, but lessons that, believe it or not, a lot of people don't understand. But many of these lessons are encapsulated in culture, in tradition, in religion, and for many people it just comes as second nature. You don't have to learn it, you don't have to work on it, because it's part of your culture. But when you get different cultures blending together, sometimes what we have is we have clashes of culture, and what is important in one culture may not necessarily be a priority in another culture. Hence, when you get partners coming together from different backgrounds, from different families, from different economic levels, what sometimes happens is that there is a clash, as I mentioned before, a clash of culture and an internal sort of disturbance which may impact that relationship. And sometimes we realise these things after we get married, or we realise these things after we go on holidays with people, that whilst you thought you had a lot in common, in reality there are things that we all have in our lives which are completely different and make us and separate us from others. And this is a point that Anthony Robbins also makes, that we're different from each other. We're all unique, we're all different. We've all had a different past, we're all going to experience a different present, and we're all going to most certainly have a different future. But those differences are for us. God makes us different from each other so that we can be different for each other, so that we can complement, we can supplement, we can cooperate, we can collaborate and bring together our differences and make those differences strengths. We can use those in a way that are going to be of a benefit to us, but we need to first be able to work, live and collaborate with other people. So yeah. I'm just looking at that man over there. He was just going and checking out my bag, not knowing what it was. So I just gave him a bit of a wave to let him know that it's my bag. So let's get back to this wonderful opportunity to spend some time together and learn a little bit more about how we function. So as we said, we need to follow certain laws. We need to follow them in particular sequences. And this is what the big man tells us, that in order to bake bread, fair enough, you need all the ingredients, but you also need to follow a recipe, because you may be wanting to make a focaccia and you'll end up with a flatbread. For example, if you use the ingredients in different proportions and in different sequences. So when it comes to rapport, when it comes to connection, the big man says that words, from a scientific perspective, this is what scientists tell us, that words are 7% of the quality of your communication. So the words that you choose to use are small, have a small impact on your ability to connect. But by the same token, we also need to understand is that some people are verbal, other people are visual, other people are kinesthetic, are moved and connected by feeling. But that, once again, we can work on that later on and talk about that. But in general, the scientific, from a scientific perspective, words account for about 7% of our ability to communicate and to connect. The second thing is that the voice, how we say things, can be up to 38%. So the words we use are small, impact, 7%. The way we say things, the way we voice things is 38%. So the way we voice things includes the submodalities, the tempo, the loudness, the texture, the speed, the tonality, the volume, the pitch, the accent, the pronunciation, the timbre of your voice. All of those things, according to Tony Robbins, have an influence in terms of how you get your message across and how your message is received. So we need to we need to be conscious of our posture, our hand gestures, our presence, our dress, our breath, and our intensity and the pace. Because our body language, our physiology needs to be in alignment with what we're saying and what we're trying to communicate in order to be effective. And this is where Tony Robbins delves a little bit more deeper into body language, saying that there are things that we say in terms of the words and the voice that we use, but there's also our body language which has a massive, massive impact on our ability to connect and to communicate. And this is where people need to spend more time on getting their message across by using their physiology. And Anthony Robbins introduces a match and mirror concept. So if you want to connect with people, if you want people to like you, then what you need to do is to try and figure out first what makes them tick, and then to mirror and to match what makes them tick, so that they can see you as an extension of themselves. And by seeing you as an extension of themselves, they will feel comfortable. And when people feel comfortable, they'll open up, they'll trust you, they'll buy from you. So little sort of tricks of the trade, but you'll be surprised at how few people really understand that these are techniques. There is a science behind all of these things. So basically, when you first meet somebody, Anthony Robbins says that you need to begin to match and mirror them. That's why you got friends who dress the same, who talk the same, who act the same, behave the same. So much so that Anthony Robbins says that when you look at couples over the years, they start to look the same as well. They'll have the same smile, they'll have the same frown, they'll have the same body language. And it's interesting that sometimes you see people who are walking their dogs, and their dogs in many ways reflect how the handler looks and behaves. You know, you'll have some people who are sprightly, who'll have a sprightly type of dog, and you'll have other people with a sad face or a grumpy face that'll have a grumpy looking dog. Or you'll have a muscle-bound person, athlete with a bull terrier or a mastiff or a pit bull. It's all interesting how we surround ourselves with images and people who reflect who we are or who we want to be. So once again, the key message from the big man is that in the beginning we should try and match and mirror, use the same language to connect, use the same words, and don't try to correct the other people. Just try and be like them, behave like them, and to match. This is important. This is a really important one. It's important to match the pace that other people talk as well, because by matching the pace of other people's language, what you're doing is you're also matching the speed in which their brain is working. Because we talk at the pace, or at a pace that reflects our cognitive abilities. That's why some people, some languages are very, very quick, and others are very, very slow and deliberate, because what it does is it matches the thought processes. Some cultures, some people, some groups, some tribes have certain elements that distinguish them from others, and that also reflects what's happening inside of their head as well. So once again, a powerful lesson. As I say, it's really, really simple, it's really, really basic, but it's amazing that once you understand it and once you use it, you can make some significant, massive breakthroughs. And Anthony Robbins goes through and gets people to basically go through and do these sorts of things, to mimic each other, to talk at each other's pace, to use each other's body language. If somebody leans back, then you lean back. If somebody leans forward, you lean forward. And just to do exactly what the other person's doing, and to sense the difference in the connection. So to understand that, people don't necessarily think about you, but people will automatically be attracted to you and to your energy and flow. So this is where Anthony Robbins also talks extensively about state, and he says that state is an energy flow, and we need different states. We need to live in powerful states from time to time when we're about to do something and make an important decision, and to be bold in our actions. But he also says that we also need to learn how to live in a beautiful state. And all of these states are important because those states need to be congruent with who we are and or who we want to be. And this is where Anthony Robbins talks about the fact that people, as I said before, are attracted to people who are like them, or to people who they want to be like. So once again, it's a fine art. It's a science and an art that, once you understand, is going to return you a huge return on your investment. So I think I'll leave it there for now. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where once again we're adding episode number 41 to the other episodes that I've put together on all that I've learnt from Anthony Robbins over the years. I do plan to deliver 365 episodes, representing one a day for a year, for anybody wanting to follow. I've got a playlist on my YouTube channel should you wish to listen to all or some of these videos. It's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. It's an opportunity for me to tie together all the ends and to, I guess, provide a gift to Anthony Robbins, my family and friends, of all the things that I've been able to learn, and the dots that I've been able to join throughout my life with all the material that I've learnt from the big man, but also a lot of material that I've also learnt independently from the many vlogs that I've done, the book summaries that I've presented, which once again just give a different and a more enhanced perspective on the simple things that we've learnt through the Anthony Robbins program. So wishing everybody a happy day, a productive day, and to try and, I guess, incorporate some of these learnings. As my friend John Namatala said years ago, knowledge is potential power, and Anthony Robbins, of course, says the same thing. It's applied knowledge that will separate you from everybody else. Just learning things. Whilst it's important to learn things and to add things to our inventory of knowledge, we really, really need to know it. And the only way to know something really, really well is to practice it, is to do it, and to do it over and over again, and not to have to think about it too much, just to count down 3, 2, 1 and say, today I'm just going to do this, practice it over and over again and see how it works for me. And the more you practice it, the more you apply it, the more you become a partner in applied knowledge. The experiential learning, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to identify, you're going to be able to learn additional patterns. And once you learn those patterns and see the outcomes and see that you can get breakthroughs and results, it's going to change the way that you deal with people. It's going to change the way you see people, because you're going to be able to, get the best out of yourself and the best out of them, because of the tools that you have available to you. And it's not about just doing things and keeping them. What Anthony Robbins encourages people to do is to be emissaries, to be a beacon of hope, to live, learn and pass on all of the things that they've learned to other people, so that we can have a better world, we can have a better community, a better society, and one that is not just self-centered, but one that is committed to doing the best for themselves, but in order to do better for others, more importantly, and to serve God and to love our neighbour as we love ourselves. So once again, thank you. Another beautiful sunrise here in Sydney from the vantage point of the overseas passenger terminal. There is a ship coming in this morning, but it's coming in a little later. It'll be coming in at 7 o'clock, but I'll be gone by then because I start work at 7 today. So I've taken the opportunity just to get up a little bit earlier, to come down here and to make the most of the silence and the beauty of this most magnificent city, the city of Sydney, at this time of year, this wonderful season, which is springtime. And I just can never get sick of this place, just to hear, to watch the movement of the ferries from Circular Quay to whatever destination they're going, to see that magnificent 50-year-old opera house, which when it was being built, when it was finally being presented, was considered to be the most ugly building in the world. But now when you look at it, it is, the eighth wonder of the world, the most beautiful building in the world, and has made Sydney an icon that tourists from all over the world want to come and see. And of course we've got the other monument over there, the most magnificent Harbour Bridge, which is once again another icon which comes to the fore on New Year's Eve with their fireworks displays, and where we got millions of people all over the world enjoying the new year being brought in. So there you go. Wishing everybody all the best once again, and we'll chat again. I look forward to catching you again from a different place with a different message of empowerment, where we can talk, we can walk, and we can have a beautiful backdrop and to make things interesting. Yassas, take care, and bye for now.